Good evening. There are many different approaches to meditation in Buddhism. They're all very closely related and are basically different approaches to the same thing. I teach Zen, but I'm also going to briefly mention two other major traditions of Buddhism, Theravada and Mahayana. Theravada or Mahayana traditions study ancient texts, which are said to be the teachings of Buddha that he passed on to his students during his lifetime. While this knowledge can be useful as a guideline, it can still be confusing about how exactly to apply this knowledge to your own life. If you study long enough, you could memorize and learn to recite all of the ancient texts, but it still would just be a starting point. Ultimately, you'll need to know how to apply these lessons to your own life in each moment. All of this knowledge will be useless if you don't have the wisdom to understand how to use this knowledge. One of the things that Buddha taught was how everything you do or think has the consequence of karma. Karma is like a chain of cause and effect that creates momentum in your life, which carries you from one moment into the next. A lot of people think karma means that if you do good things will come to you. And if you do bad things will come to you. However, that perspective is somewhat incomplete. You could be completely committed to eliminating everything you can think of that would cause you bad karma. If you do this long enough, it might make you feel like you've attained a heavenly state. But the moment that something goes wrong, you'll still feel like you're going through hell. Then you'll wonder why that happened. You could do everything that you could think of to eliminate your bad karma, yet you'll still suffer. This is inevitable. As long as you're alive, something will cause you suffering. Buddha said, to attain nirvana or freedom from suffering, you have to free yourself from the cycle of karma. A lot of Buddhists say that the best way to do this is to follow certain rules or guidelines or precepts so that you can live a pure life and create good karma. Following these rules is supposed to bring you happiness and pleasure. Breaking these rules increases your suffering. Certainly, more pleasure and happiness are better than more suffering, but you still can't escape suffering. Why is that? When you create heaven, hell also exists. Pleasure is merely just the opposite of suffering. If one type of action is pure, then another type of action must be impure. Anytime you create good, there also has to be the idea that something else is bad. All of these ideas require that there's an opposite. The truth is, all of these ideas create impurities because they come from thinking. Any kind of thinking creates karma, which puts a mask on reality. Reality simply is what it is. These ideas and words that you attach to reality is where good and bad come from. These words and ideas are also where suffering comes from. Your true nature and the true nature of reality is what's left when your mind is completely empty. When your mind is clear and empty like space, it's completely pure. Your true nature is already pure without any of these ideas, rules, and precepts. A clear mind is like a clear mirror that reflects the true reality and your true nature. What does this mean? By definition, this clear, empty mind state can't be explained or understood with words. It can only be experienced. Words lead to thinking, which automatically taints the experience. So how can you attain this mind state? At best, the words of the sutras and these types of Dharma talks can only point you to the path. But eventually, the words will cloud your understanding. To attain this state of emptiness, you must approach these lessons with humility. No matter how much knowledge you attain, you have to acknowledge that you still don't know anything until you experience it. You must remain humble and just try to keep your mind clear. If you want to free yourself from suffering, you have to put down all of these ideas. You have to let go of your opinions and desires. You have to put down your ego and the very notion of you or I. When there's no you or I, there's no one left to suffer. When there's no I or you, there's no reason to do anything for yourself. When you reach this point, The only thing that makes sense is helping other people. This is compassionate action. And when you embody this, you've attained what we call a Bodhisattva mind. This is the Zen way. This is why Zen practice doesn't focus on studying the sutras and why we don't attach ourselves to our precepts. Instead, we focus on keeping our mind clear to attain a Bodhisattva mind or Buddha nature. When your mind is clear, you attain the wisdom of how to conduct yourself in every moment in order to be free from suffering. In Zen, we traditionally use the practice of meditation to help us clear our mind. So with that said, let's meditate together so we can practice clearing our mind. Before we meditate, let's begin with a breathing technique that can help you to relax and prepare your body for meditation. Start by breathing a little bit slower and a little bit deeper than you usually do. Visualize your heart in the center of your chest as you breathe. As you listen to me, I want you to continue to breathe a little bit slower and a little bit deeper. Feel your breath coming in through your nose and mouth, collecting all of the energy from your brain and moving it from your head into your chest. Imagine now that you're breathing with your heart. The purpose of this is to try to align our mind, heart, and body. You can also place your hand on your heart and close your eyes if you'd like. Keep breathing a little bit slower and deeper as I talk. This is a technique you can use to relax or reset yourself whenever you feel nervous or anxious, or whenever you feel like you need to switch gears from different activities you're doing throughout the day. You can use it when you wake up, before you enter a stressful meeting, before you go to sleep, or before you meditate. So let's just take a few more moments to take some slow and deep breaths. Tonight we'll be doing a mantra meditation together. We'll turn around in our places and we're gonna sit with our legs crossed, and your hands are gonna be right hand, left hand, and then touching your thumbs. Try to sit with your neck and back straight. If your eyes were open, they would be at a 45-degree angle facing the floor, but we're gonna have our eyes closed. If you get uncomfortable during the meditation, you can stand up or stretch out. Just try to be quiet and respectful of everyone else meditating around you. In traditional Zen meditation, a mantra is used to clear the mind. The mantra is a focal point of meditation, usually a word or a phrase that's repeated within your mind. If you try not to think, thoughts will inevitably come into your mind. By focusing on the mantra, you can use it to push out all of the other thoughts. When you meditate, try to let go of your feelings, opinions, desire, and ego. As you meditate, only concentrate on your mantra. If any thought comes into your mind, let it pass and return to focusing on your mantra. You can use anything as a mantra during meditation, but I usually suggest using the mantra of koan Bosal. Koan Bosal is the name of the Bodhisattva of love and compassion in Korean Zen. Koan Bosal is often depicted with thousands of eyes and hands and said to be able to see the suffering of everyone and help those who call out her name. Using this mantra will bring compassionate energy into your mind while you meditate. Now let's turn around and we'll meditate together for about 20 minutes or so. So when we think and take actions, we create karma. Everything we do creates some level of karma. Karma creates momentum, which carries you through your life like a wave pushing you around in the ocean. Good karma is like surfing on a smooth wave. Bad karma is like when the wave crashes down on you and tries to drown you. Bigger waves give better rides, but when they eventually crash, it can be devastating. We all have karma. Karma determined where you were born, and it eventually brought you here to this meditation class. It's kind of amazing. Your karma could have brought you anywhere in the world, but it brought you here to this class with this small group of people. With all of the momentum that we've created in our individual lives, brought us here in this exact moment. Out of all the possibilities, what are the chances of that? It seems highly improbable. So why did that happen? It's not a coincidence. In Buddhism, we would say that we have a karmic attraction to each other. We all have different paths that led us to this moment, just like we have different reasons for coming here to this class. Maybe you wanted to learn about meditation. Maybe you just wanted a group of people to meditate with. Or maybe you're not even sure why you came here. So, I don't know what your reason was for coming, but we all ended up here for some reason. Our karma brought us together, and that fact is not insignificant. Why did you come here today? Why did you want to meditate? There could be many reasons. Perhaps you heard it would help you relax or reduce your stress, or perhaps you want to attain enlightenment. I hope this class helps you attain whatever it is you're looking for. Unfortunately, here's the truth. No matter how good you feel now, after you leave here, at some point in your life, something is going to cause you suffering. Being alive means you must think and act. Thinking and action create karma, and karma inevitably causes suffering. While I can't say for sure why any of you came here today, I can tell you why I'm here. I'm here to help you understand how to free yourself from karma and free yourself from suffering. A lot of Buddhists say that in order to do this, you have to follow precepts or some sort of moral code that will help you purify your thinking and actions. This will help you create good karma. Good karma is certainly better than bad karma, but it's still karma, and it will still lead to suffering. Some people get so good at manipulating their karma that they can accomplish amazing feats. The things they do seem almost magical. But no matter how rich or amazing someone is, they still experience suffering. So, how can you free yourself from karma and from suffering? Honestly, nothing I can say will be enough to get you there. The best I can help you do is to understand. But if you only listen to my words, you'll never get it. It's not something that you can intellectually understand or know. You have to experience it. It's like if you have a map to find a treasure, it's not the same thing as going out and getting the treasure. If you have a map, then you know where it is and how to get it, but you still don't have the treasure. Having the treasure is a completely different experience than just studying the map and knowing where it is. If you think you know what I'm talking about, then you automatically don't know, because you're still thinking. Your mind is like water in a pond. Any thinking creates a small wave or ripple, which disturbs the water. In order for the water to be clear, it has to be completely still. When you 100% don't know anything, you don't think anything. Then the water will be completely still. This is what my teacher's teacher, great Zen Master Sung San, called attaining a don't-know mind. A don't-know mind is completely clear and empty. A clear mind is like water when it's completely still. It reflects everything like a clear mirror. When your mind becomes like a clear mirror, you can see the true nature of everything. That's what we call getting enlightenment. So how do you attain a clear mind? You must learn how to control your karma and keep your mind still. This is what we call a not moving mind. This is why when we meditate, we use a mantra, so we can focus our mind on one thing so it doesn't move. However, you can't just sit and meditate forever. You have to think and move in order to live and survive. So how is this possible? How can you control your karma and your thinking to keep your mind clear and empty? The way I teach is called Zen. Zen practice uses koans and meditation to guide you along the path to attaining a clear mind. I've already given you a number of koans tonight. Koans are questions and statements that challenge you to reconsider everything you think you already know. They push you to see things differently than you normally do. I call my approach to teaching the mind light way. The main koan I give to all of my students is, what is your mind? Does anyone have an answer to this? We all have a mind, right? You know you have a mind, but what is it? When I say mind, I mean, what is the foundation of who you are? Mind is just a word I use to point to this. Some people call it your soul or spirit. In order to completely understand the essence of your being, you have to see your mind and experience what it is. In order to experience the true nature of your mind, it has to be completely clear and empty of all thoughts. We talked about how we can use sitting meditation to clear our mind, but we also discussed how you have to think and move around in order to live. Anytime you think and take actions, you create karma, which covers your mind like clothes cover your body. So in order to see your mind, you have to constantly remove the karma. This means you constantly have to meditate in order to keep your mind clear. The main point of what I'm teaching is that in order to have a clear mind every moment, everything you do has to become a meditation. This means you have to treat everything you're doing in each moment as it's your mantra. This means you have to be completely focused on whatever you're doing. My teacher taught me how to do this through martial arts and sword practice. By learning to completely focus on the martial arts techniques, I learned to turn my actions into a form of meditation. It's very easy to tell if your mind is clear when you're doing this. When your mind is clear, each technique flows into the next with no hindrance. If your mind starts to wander, even just to think about what you're doing, it disrupts the flow state and you make a mistake. It's especially critical to remain completely focused when you're handling a sword. Any mistake can be very costly. This type of situation forces you to focus on what you're doing like it's a life or death situation. Eventually, after many years of practicing this martial art form of meditation, I learned how to apply this level of focus to the other things I was doing in my life. I learned to apply this level of focus to more mundane things like cooking, painting the temple, weeding the garden, cleaning my room, and doing my dishes. When you're finished doing these types of things, you can look at your work and tell if your mind was clear while you were doing it. If I missed a spot on my dish or a weed in the garden, that meant I wasn't completely focused on what I was doing. For most people, when they do something, their mind wanders to think about the past or the future or about their family or their friends. A lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about what other people think about them. That is so much thinking, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed. Ultimately, what does this type of thinking accomplish? In truth, the only thing you can control is your thoughts and your actions that you'll take in each moment. So why not just focus on that? That sounds very simple, but it's not always easy. There's so many things that can distract you. So it takes practice to learn how to focus your mind. Learning to focus your mind is like an exercise you can get better at the more you practice. This is why in Zen practice, we use sitting meditation to learn how to focus our mind on a mantra. This is why my teacher taught me to focus on my actions through martial arts practice. This is why in my school, I'm teaching that you can use any art form to practice focusing your mind on what you're doing. There are just different ways that you can use to meditate and clear your mind. It took me many years and hours of practice every single day to get good at this. I guess I had a lot of bad karma I had to clear out. Everything you think and everything you do creates karma. That means you have to learn how to turn everything you do into a meditation. If you want to keep your mind clear and attain enlightenment. So when you're doing your dishes, just focus on doing your dishes. When you're cleaning your room, just concentrate on cleaning your room. When you're cooking food, just focus on cooking. When you're eating, just eat. When you're at work, just work. Try not to let thinking come between your mind and whatever you're doing. Eventually, you'll notice how your perception of the world starts to change. When your actions become clear, they'll provide a small reflection of your mind, and you'll start to reveal the true nature of everything. Sometimes it'll feel easy, sometimes it'll feel difficult. No matter how you feel, just keep going and keep a don't know mind. Eventually, you can reach a state where there's no I, no you, and no suffering. The reason I teach is so that I can share these techniques that I use. And I host these classes so we can practice together. I'm also sharing my personal stories and the lessons I've learned from my teachers to try to inspire you. However, everything I said is just words. No matter how well you understand what I'm saying, these words won't take you to where I'm talking about. The best they can do is point you in a direction, and it's up to you to take the necessary steps. In my experience, this wasn't always an easy journey. I lived in a temple for 16 years, and there were entire years where I thought about giving up every single day. But I just kept going no matter how I felt. The purpose of all my classes is to make a community so that we can help each other and inspire each other to keep going. My suggestion to you going forward is to practice meditating a little bit every day, even if it's just for 1 minute. Challenge yourself to try meditating 1 minute a day for the next month. You can use the meditation technique I showed you in class today. Come back next month and let me know how you do. That sounds really easy, but it's not. I'd be really impressed if any one of you can accomplish that. I think it would be a big accomplishment. Also, find an activity or an art form that you enjoy. It could be anything. Use it to practice focusing on your actions and turning them into a meditation. Practice that a little bit every day. Then try to expand that practice and apply that level of focus to everything else you're doing. Don't waste your time being disappointed if you falter. I've failed many times in my journey. I just got really good at getting back up. Learning how to overcome your failures and not getting discouraged is an incredibly useful skill to have. The more you learn to do it, the more you learn to believe in yourself. If you make a mistake or you miss a day of meditation, don't beat yourself up about it. Just start your practice back up again as soon as you can. Try to keep focusing on whatever is in front of you each moment. If you want to attain enlightenment or freedom from suffering, plant that seed in your mind. Then clear your mind with meditation so that seed has room to grow. When you wake up, make your bed in the morning. When you go to work, work as hard as you can. When you come home, eat dinner, do your dishes, then put them away. Through all of this, try to stay focused on whatever it is you're doing. If you stay focused like this, it will remove the clutter from your living space, and your surroundings will become a reflection of your mind. Also, try not to add any unnecessary suffering to the world. It just creates more karma that you have to clear out. If you live like this and keep your mind clear, you don't need to worry so much about any specific rules or precepts. You'll automatically take the correct action in every moment. When you see someone who's suffering, just be compassionate. When you see someone who's helping a lot of people, help that person. Don't be overly punitive to yourself or for others for their mistakes. Just try to be kind and encourage each other to stay on the path to a clear mind. This is the point of this community here. I hope you all continue to come here and be a part of it. If we help each other, we can all awaken our true nature together. This is the Bodhisattva way. So to close out, I'm going to share a short poem that I wrote a few weeks ago. It's called The Jewel in the Lotus. I published it on my website and it was in our newsletter last month, but I thought it might be nice to share it with everyone here. The jewel in the lotus. What is the mind? To cultivate this flower, sow the seed. To see the seed blossom, clear your mind. To clear your mind, remain focused on your mantra. Your mantra is like the jewel in the lotus. Om Mani Padme Om. When the mind is clear, its light radiates throughout the universe. As the jewel in the lotus reflects the emptiness like a mirror, the light illuminates the mind. This is the mind light way. Thank you. And in case you haven't heard it before, Om Mani Padme Om is a line from a Buddhist chant. It means praise to the jewel in the lotus. And the jewel in the lotus is another name for Kwansen Bosal, the Bodhisattva of love and compassion. And so that's one of the mantras we use. So just to clarify that. At this point, I'll take questions from anyone about anything I said, or any other questions you have about the mind, about enlightenment, anything. Any questions?
I just couldn't realize where I read this, that you one. So that is, I read that somewhere. And last time I was here, I think we had a similar discussion about picking up an art form and trying to make it as your meditation. It's my specific issue is that I think I have too many hobbies and too many things that I like or do, and so I'm just a jack of all trades but master of none. And I feel like I think you are a master of like Zen and one art, like you are a very good artist and sorts, you have good knowledge of sort. So I'm just thinking, should I just pick one of my hobbies and try to be much better in that, and so that I can really focus and make it a meditation? Because right now I feel like since I'm not really a master of any art, I just am not able to focus as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I've definitely mentioned this in a different Dharma talk, but I'll repeat it. I don't know if you were here for that one. I think one of the steps to attaining enlightenment is becoming a master of something. So in that process, you master a skill, you also learn how to master yourself. So it doesn't matter what the art form is. For me, it was martial arts and sword, but I learned to believe in myself through that process. And another way you can say enlightenment is that you 100% believe in yourself. Okay. So I actually just copied the art that my teacher was doing. So you're not born a master. You have to learn from someone. And so I just learned from him and listened to what he said and tried to learn how to control myself and my mind through that practice. And I think you can do that with any practice. You could do it at, your job. If it's a job that you're really into, it could be that. It doesn't, I use the word art also to mean anything you're putting your heart into. So it could be writing, music, visual art, whatever, computer programming, you name it. It could be working on cars, fixing cars, something like that. But you have to master that skills. And when you master that, you'll start to unlock your own unique skills too. And you also learn how to master other things more quickly. So it builds your confidence and your belief in yourself. But it also, I'll just warn you, it can be a trap, because I know a lot of masters who get stuck on being a master and they never attain enlightenment. Because when you become a master, it makes your ego big. And so then you start to develop like overconfidence sometimes, and you think you're a master of things that you're not, and you start to act like that. And that will interfere with your own growth. At that point, if you reach that point, you don't have a don't know mind anymore. You think you know everything. That's the opposite. So that's one of the things I was saying tonight. You have to remind yourself you really don't know. Even the masters, even the people who know more than anything about the universe, the highest level physicists in the world, they know so little about everything. If you even ask them, how much do you know about the universe? It's less than 5%. So no matter where you are, you have to kind of keep that. And those people are masters. Like, some of them have won Nobel Prizes. So you have to, that's one of the steps. So, and it's definitely a worthwhile thing to pursue, and it will help you grow, and it will help you develop your skills. And then, but you have to keep meditating and keep practicing and keep searching and keep trying. I just want to stress that's one step. And I don't think it's bad that you're curious about a lot of things. I am too, but you don't always get the same depth of understanding. Like, the thing with becoming a master is you have to get really good at things you're not naturally good at. There's always stuff that you struggle with in that process that are not natural to you. And so you learn how to become a better learner And you also, like one of the things I mentioned tonight is you learn how to fail and how to recover from your failures. And that's a super valuable skill. If you're trying to get enlightenment, you're going to fail many, many times before it clicks, you know? So learning that, and through that process of when you fail, you still believe in yourself. And you'll learn how to believe in yourself and how to stay focused on the moment. And those are all critical things along the path to attaining enlightenment. But they are just steps along the way as well. What do I mean by enlightenment? So pretty much what I said tonight is in Buddhism, we say when you see your mind. What do I mean by that? I don't mean you see it with your eyes. It's not a material thing, right? You can't look in the mirror. No matter how deep you stare into your eyes, you don't see your mind. So how do you see it? In order to completely understand who you are, you have to know what that is. So another way you can say is like you just 100% believe in yourself. You know what you are at the very core, what the foundation of what you are is. What is that that's making decisions? Why do you decide yes or no? You can listen to people who study the brain and neuroscience, and they tell you a lot of different things, but the truth is they don't really know. They know a little bit about chemistry and biology, and they have some ideas, and most of them all kind of think the same way about it, but they don't really know. And that's what I mean when I say enlightenment. I think you can be enlightened in certain ways, but when I talk about enlightenment, that's what I mean. And when you truly what's that? Being present, yes, that's part of it. You can be present for a moment and then lose it though, you know? So how do you maintain that? When you're completely understand what your mind is, there can't be any thoughts. So if you think of yourself as I and you, and then there's you, all of those are words that are putting artificial boundaries around ourselves that don't really reflect reality. So when you take all of the thoughts out of your mind, then it's completely clear. Then you actually can see what everything is. So if I go into a forest and say there's trees, already I've grouped a group of things into one thing. And I've said they're all the same, basically. And even if I said, well, that one's a maple tree and that one's a pine tree, that's still doing that because each maple tree is totally different than the other one. If you look closely, there's something different. So all of these ideas that we have in our head are getting in the way of us truly seeing the true nature of everything. And when you see the true nature of everything, you understand who you are. And it's not really you at that point. It's something that's transcending words. And when you understand that, you understand that all of your suffering comes from these ideas. And when you don't have these ideas, there's no suffering. And that's the way it's described in Buddhism as nirvana, freedom from suffering, liberation from suffering. But that is, in Zen, a lot of times we say, who are you? If you can answer that question, you will have enlightenment. And it's not something I could tell you. I could describe it in my own experiences, but it's just going to be a bunch of words that don't really truly reflect my own experiences. I don't know if I answered your question or just made it more confusing. But all right. How about you? Did you have a question?
you said, but so you talk about love and compassion. I want to know what love is in Zen and what role does it play?
Okay, great question. Love, as far as, I'll answer the second question first. What is love? I'm going to repeat it so you can hear it online. What is love and what role does that play in Zen? Love is a foundational aspect of Zen. So it's one of the most important things in our belief system, is that love should be at the center of everything you do. Now, I don't use the word love in a way that a lot of people understand in our society, because people use the word love in all different kinds of ways. They say, like, I love my car, I love my computer. But what does that mean? You know, they like their car because when they turn the wheel, it goes the way that they want it to. They like their computer because they can turn it on and it tells them what they want to know and it helps them with stuff. That's like a form of control. And so we learn to misuse that word a lot. So I just want to clarify, that's when I say love, that's not what I mean. Love is something bigger than that. And I've done a lot of meditation on that because I had the same question. And it's never really explained in any of the sutras. They just say it. So love is a feeling that makes you want to help other people and help them alleviate their suffering. So that's why the Bodhisattva mind is that you want to help everyone and help them to alleviate your suffering. You have nothing left to attain. Once you've freed yourself from your own suffering, you have nothing left to attain. So your only purpose as a Bodhisattva is to help other people reach that same place. And that's love, probably in the more traditional Buddhist understanding. I have a little bit, this is not something you'll read about, but this is something that I've come to conclude through my own meditation, is that love is actually the energy of creation. And so it's the driving force that makes you want to create. It also makes people want to procreate, right? And create babies. That's typically the way we kind of use it in our society, is like it has some sort of relation to that. But I think it's bigger than that. Love is actually the force in the universe that makes things become created. That's a really awkward way of saying it. What do I mean by that? Like, why do you want to create? Where does that feeling come from? So it's the force of your mind that wants to create things in reality. Why does it want to do that? Because when we create things, we bring what's in our mind out into reality, and then we get a reflection of what's in our mind. And so our mind is trying to understand itself, and it's giving us this force of creation that makes us want to create and see a reflection of itself. So everything we create gives us a small reflection of itself. And I'll just kind of clarify it, because a lot of, scientific minded people think consciousness is a product of some combination of material things that creates consciousness. I actually have the stance that everything that exists in reality exists in our mind. Not that our mind is a product of the things in reality. So in that sense, the consciousness runs through everything. So even this table has consciousness. Why does it have consciousness? Because we look at it and we say this is a table. That gives it table consciousness. All these labels only come from our mind. And we've just agreed through a shared consciousness that this is a table. Is it really a table, or is it just a bunch of atoms and molecules and particles? Where do you draw the line? We just came to some understanding this is a table. So our shared consciousness has come to an agreement that this is a table. So I'm getting a little off track here, but that force of love, because consciousness runs through everything, it runs through everything in the universe. Why do particles stick together and become molecules and atoms? Why do they create something out of nothing? My argument, I have nothing to prove this to you, but this is what I have come to the conclusion in through meditating, is that's all because of force of love. That's a force of your mind, which is a force of us trying to understand ourselves. Why do we create artificial intelligence? I think it's because we're trying to understand our own intelligence. Maybe we just don't want to do our own dishes. I don't know. But yeah, so that's probably more than you might expect. It's a little bit beyond the traditional definitions of love, but that's how I understand it. I'll just give you a quote from Buddha too. And this is something my teacher told me. He passed it down to me in his own words, but I've also found it in the Metta Sutra. A very similar quote is that you should love like the sun, radiating love in all directions with no hindrance. So the sun just gives, it never asks for anything back. It always shines. It shines in every direction. So radiating that out, and it manifests as compassionate actions amongst people, helping each other. And if you love another human, you should want to help them. And if you're not feeling that, that's not love. If you're thinking, oh, we're in love, they should do what I think, that's not love. That means you want to help and help them alleviate their suffering. Any other questions? Yeah, I also think like this love, this wanting to create, when we bringing these things out from our mind out into reality, then all of a sudden we can understand like, oh, something that's inside you was inside me too. Like that resonates with me. And then that gives us a sense that we're having a similar internal experience, and that helps us feel compassion to each other. And then you start to realize, oh, something is connecting both of us. This person brought something out into reality that is resonating with me. That means we're sharing something internally. And I've yet to hear anyone explain why that happens, but I think it's one of the most powerful forces I've ever experienced in my own life. And I think at the very least we should like respect that and try to understand what that means. Like why is our intuition giving us these feelings,
I would like to add a little bit. It's not as deep as what you said, but it's just maybe less deep. But what I have noticed is that when I do something which I really, really love, one example is like I love to travel. So every time I travel somewhere, I'm very happy, right? So it just makes me like pure happiness inside of me. And when I'm happy, I try to help everybody, right? So when I meet people, locals, like I try to like buy things from them or just like give them something or nothing. just keeps adding. So I get more and more happy, and then when I'm happy, they try to help me back. Like if they see that I'm struggling to do something or I'm not able to translate, they just realize that, oh yeah, this guy seems like, he's struggling with something. So they help me back. So I feel like because of that happiness, I am like some positive karma is coming out of me. So I'm generating good karma for myself just because I was happy in pure self, right? And then because of that, I was spreading it, and people realize, and then they also generate positive karma for themselves and for myself, right?
Yeah.
So all in all, it becomes like a big positivity of karma, and that I really feel like that. So it just makes me even more happy, right?
Yeah.
So it starts like a chain reaction.
Yeah, and I think what you're describing in some ways is like you're also acting with compassion. You're helping people, and they're helping you back in times when you need. And I think that is definitely one of the things I'm trying to suggest to you, but also just be cautious because like if you're doing things for pleasure, there will be suffering still. And try to let go of all of that when you meditate. And yeah, it's just something to be a little bit cautious with. Of course, good karma is better than bad karma. Try and make good karma. It's easier to clear out than bad karma. But also try to clear out all your karma when you meditate. So, yeah. Any other questions or comments or want to share some experiences? I do. If you don't have any other questions, I have a few announcements, and then before I let you all go, I give these talks on the third Thursday of every month, and so you're all invited back next month or in the future. I hope to see you. I also hold a guided meditation every month where we just focus more on practicing different types of meditation together. It's less of me talking, and just I'll guide you through different types of meditation. That's the first Thursday of every month, so I don't know what the August date is, but it'll be 2 weeks or so from now. And you can also sign up for my email list. I send out a 1-month newsletter kind of telling everybody when the classes are for the month, reminding them, and also usually put a little something about Zen and the links to the Dharma talks, things like that. And other than that, thank you very much for coming. I hope to see you again sometime.